Hello, it's Dave again at AFX, and we work with a lot of property investors and owners through our TitleSearch.com division and also our AFX investigative agency, who are landlords or potential landlords looking to get their return on their real estate by renting out the property. And it's a great idea to get some return on investment and to potentially make a profit on a property over time by having a tenant pay the expenses while the property appreciates. The problem is there's some pitfalls. You now become a business owner at the mercy of the tenant in the property. So you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself and taking some steps to minimize downside liability. Let's take a look at a couple. First of all, one of the protections that people look at are financial risk. Well, financial risk is only part of it. You can mitigate some of that with a good security deposit. So if the property is damaged or the person takes off on you, you have that security deposit. But that good security deposit is also a means to filter out another risk, which is a bad tenant. Good tenants don't mind a good, serious security deposit. In order to attract good tenants, you also want to have a property appearance that matches the professional type of property renter and occupant that you want. If you want a professional type executive tenant, then you want to have your property appeal to that type of person. Something without bad paint or bad landscaping or missing parts of the house, that's not going to attract the kind of tenant that you want. Maintenance shows your pride, and it shows that you expect theirs as a tenant in the property. You also want to match up the payment date for that rental with their pay date, so that if they get paid on a certain day, maybe it's commission, maybe it's bi-weekly or semi-monthly, you want to set them up for success as a tenant so that their pay date matches their pay date or a few days afterwards, so that way there's no reason why that money should not be there. You also want to verify the number of people in the property. You don't want to have somebody who's dependent upon roommates or other tenants to pay their rent, because if so, now you have, if they have 5 roommates in a house, if one of them decides not to pay the rent, all it might take is one of those people to have a financial problem that blows your whole deal and blows your tenant out of the water with their budget. So you want to have that tenant to be able to pay their rent on their own, and those roommates not be part of the financial decision, because you're not going to know who they are. You're not going to know what their financial situation is. You're only going to know the tenant. So recheck in 30 days after the tenant moves in. Are there any other occupants? Are there pets that aren't supposed to be there? Is there any kind of activity that shouldn't be going on there? And in 30 days, you'll get a good idea of what that tenant's going to be like, and it'll give you enough time. It'll be quick enough to take corrective action so it doesn't settle in and establish itself in your house that could be a several $100,000 asset in the hands of a stranger, basically. You want to look at the lifestyle of a potential tenant, maybe in advance. Look at Facebook pages, Twitter posts, who their associates are, to see what kind of lifestyle that they live. If the person has old beat up cars and maybe has evidence of drug use or drinking or some type of activities or lifestyle that you wouldn't be comfortable with, not judging the lifestyle, but is it right for your house? Is it right for the condition of your house and of your neighborhood where your house is located? You're not going to make good friends with the neighbors of your rental property if you have bad tenants in there. In this day and age, a lot of social media is available to be able to determine some of that. And the last thing is, obviously make good reserves for vacancy and restoration. Just because you have a tenant in there for a year doesn't mean you're not going to have a month or two afterwards to get that property tuned up and ready for the next tenant. That's just part of the expense. So that vacancy rate, you want to have some money set aside for that month where you don't have a tenant, and also set aside for restoring the house. You may be able to keep some from security deposit, but every property is going to have some wear and tear over the years. You may not have to replace a carpet every year, maybe every 5 years. So whatever the carpet cost is, obviously you're going to take 1/5 of it, accumulate it for 5 years. That way it won't be a big expense when it happens. The last thing is with references on a tenant. You want to verify not only are they real people. Actually, let me back up. You want to verify not only that they're going to give a good reference, but that they're real landlords. They're not just a friend of this tenant that says good things about your potential applicant. You can verify that by matching up addresses. What's the the reference address versus where that person lived. Maybe look at their driver's license. What's their address? See if the person you're calling actually owns that property. Verify that they're a landlord, not just a friend of theirs giving a good reference. And there's ways to find that out. You may need to hire an investigator to look up the address of the people. You can look at maybe property records, title records, to see if these people actually own properties and it's where the person actually lived. A lot of times references are padded with friends and relatives that'll give good references, and if that's the case, you're not going to find out that they were a bad tenant for somebody else. So that's another little trick on checking references. Not only that they give you a good answer, but that they're real, actual prior landlords.